In many of my pre-release analysis videos, I extensively talked about how Kirara is a good fit for Dendro Quicken teams with 2 Electro off-field damage dealers specifically. The selling point is that, compared to Nahida, she's a pretty great defensive option, something that allows you to put Kazuha on the team instead of Zhongli and gain a lot of damage from his buffs. So, I've been able to try Kirara on Yae and Keqing Quicken teams, and the results are pretty much what I expected them to be. Kirara is a pretty flexible unit, because both of her skills come with low cooldowns. This not only makes it very easy for her to fit into quick and quick swap structures flawlessly, but it also works wonders in real game scenarios, as you can easily maintain your damage in multi-wave situations since you'll always be able to apply Quicken. Her burst, in particular, is an important tool to apply Dendro in AoE instantaneously. Units like Yayao and Baiju, who compete with Kirara in the Dendro slot, generally are a bit more limited in that sense, either because their skills take longer to apply Dendro to all units in AoE, or because their targeting is more wonky. Kirara comes with an old version of her elemental skill and the burst, with which she can reliably apply Dendro to all enemies, and with low cooldowns on top of that, so that's pretty great. A thing to keep in mind with Kirara is that at times she might apply too much Dendro in a single instance for Kazuha to reapply his buffs through bursts right after. Specifically, this happens when Fischl's Hodds is not on the floor when Kirara casts her skill or burst, so when you have less electro application. In AoE, this is not much of an issue, since you generally get to maintain more electro application in those situations, but in single target there might be some scenarios where you'll need to use Kazuha's word skills before Kirara reapplies Dendro, to ensure you keep all the effects up. This isn't a very meaningful change in the rotation, since these teams are so flexible from a field requirement perspective that you can shape the rotation in many ways and maintain pretty high damage in all cases. This is more true with the Yae variant. Yae is a great unit because she can fundamentally outdamage Keqing on the team while not needing as much field time as her. This allows Kirara and Fischl to fit the team better and use their skills on cooldown more reliably. For Kirara, this is important if she's holding the Instructor set, which if activated every 8 seconds, it will provide the entire team with 120 elemental mastery for the whole rotation. The thing that's underrated about the Instructor set is that you can use it while still reaching pretty substantial levels of HP with Kirara, so her shield durability won't be low just because you're equipping 4-star artifacts. Specific rotation-wise, I can give you some guidelines to follow, but it's important to keep in mind that since these teams work on a 25 seconds rotation standard, you will often find yourself in the situation where your enemies die before your rotation ends. However, this isn't an issue at all with these teams, since as I said earlier, they allow for a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can reset your actions and keep your damage up in multi-wave scenarios. No particular constellation is needed for Kirara to work here, but there are some that definitely help. In particular, her Constellation 4 increases her rotation damage and gives her more Dendro application instances regardless of she's on field or not, which helps in case her burst or skill fail to apply Dendro on all opponents. Her Constellation 6 is the biggest buff, as it's a 6% team damage increase on both Keqing and Yae Quicken, which might not sound super great at a glance, but from a team damage perspective, it has the same positive effects as upgrading Yae's weapon to her signature from an average 4-star one. Weapons-wise, unless you have a 5-star option like Key of Kejnishut, from an utility standpoint you can't give her much of use. The reason is that she doesn't really need much energy to function properly, and neither do her allies, because 25 seconds rotations is an energy requirement a lot in general. This means that common options like Favonius or Sacrificial are not particularly good here. Key is good, but it's important to remember that you have to use the old version of the elemental skill to activate its passive, which might be a substantial rotation extension at worst, and a small but still potentially annoying one at best. Freedom Sworn also works decently, but it's worse than Key as its supportive effects are not as good and also have shorter uptime. Overall, since utility options are not super good, you can even opt for damage options like Black Sword or Jade Cutter, which will make her damage better even with an HP build. Basically, my impression with Kirara's performance is that at low Constellations, she's comparable to Baiju and Yae on the teams, but may be a bit smoother because of her low cooldowns, and by the time she gets her Constellation 6, she's definitely the best Dendro defensive option for the teams overall. I'm done for today. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time.